All right, good morning. We'll go ahead and get started. I'll just address the injuries real quick. So we've got two tight ends down with hamstrings, one Jason Kroom and the other being Dawson Knox. Occurred yesterday during practice. Dawson's did. So we're a little shorthanded on the tight end position, but we'll make the most of the opportunities here with what we've got and take it one day at a time. So with that, we'll open it up to your questions.
How have you seen Cody Ford 3 days into it? He's your right tackle. It looks like at this point, what have you seen from him progression-wise, especially with the pads on yesterday?
Yeah, he's done a good job. I think like a lot of the rookies, some good and some plays they want back. I do like his mentality, which was not a surprise. It's what Brandon and his staff, part of the evaluation was that physical toughness, that mental toughness as well. And so I think early on, the early signs of that are there, and that's a critical piece.
When you had him in the scouting combine meeting, as we saw a little bit on the embedded show, what prompted the question to him about what he said to the guy who he drove, whatever it was, 20 or 30 yards downfield? He was barking. What prompted the question? Why did you ask him the question?
I can't remember asking that question. No, I don't know.
Somebody did, 'cause he said yesterday in the room where he told us that that's what you guys asked him.
Just we try and be thorough with our evaluation, So, it goes back to mindset, I think, a little bit too, is to trying to get to know these players the best we can before the draft, and making sure that we understand who they are and what we may be getting if we draft that player in this case.
Yesterday, Micah Hyde was expressing a little bit of frustration as well as fascination at how John Brown beat them deep. How do you take that as a coach when you see your defense getting torched in that way, and yet you see what Josh Allen and John Brown are doing with those deep passes?
Yeah, my blood pressure. It's interesting, as a defensive guy, my blood pressure gets pretty high in those occasions. I think the top number is the number you worry about, right? Maybe it's the bottom number, I don't know, but both are pretty high when I see that. But on the other side of it, to your point, is I like the fact that we were able to complete some of those passes down the field yesterday, and that's important for confidence. It's important for some of our rhythm on offense, and then to see John and Josh get off to a good start was good to see.
Sean, 3 straight days, Cody has been primarily the right tackle over there. Can you kind of assess his performance and the transition from OTAs to minicamp to out here for Cody Ford?
Yeah, it was asked a couple seconds ago. Sorry, he's off to a good start. Just like I said earlier, I really think the thing that we know that we feel pretty strongly about is the mindset. He's a physically tough player, mentally tough player. A little fight broke out yesterday. He was one of the first ones in there, which I like. So yeah, I think still a lot of work to do, just like a lot of the rookies.
You made light of the height of your receivers, use that whole Smurf thing, but besides speed, which smaller guys will generally generate, and that's a thought for you guys, what about the ability also to get open in the short spaces? And I'm talking specifically to the skill that a Cole Beasley has, and how maybe how you're trying to do more with your offense to tailor to those skills. Is that something that's there, that's in your mindset?
Yeah, if you look at it from a defensive standpoint, it's a matchup game, right? So one of the first things you look at defensively is how well you match up or don't match up with the various pieces that the offense brings to the table. In this case, in the slot with Cole, that's a tough matchup for some people. And when you spend a couple, as I've gotten to know Cole, you spend a couple days with him or around him, and you get to feel pretty quick that love his football intelligence. His dad was a coach, and he loves just being around the locker room. He's a gym rat, and I think that really bodes well for our team and the chemistry and what we're trying to be all about, and that's hard work. And go ahead.
When you talked with him before he came here, did you, besides get him hearing the right numbers to sign here, a bit of the drive, because he was pretty public that he felt underused by the Cowboys. How much did that maybe play into what you talked with him about, and B, maybe felt, hey, that's got especially motivated guy who wants to prove to his former team, you didn't use me enough?
No, I think overall we always try and do our research, whether it's in Cody's case with the draft or free agency. Obviously, the sometimes you're a little bit limited with free agency the way it works. You know, you can't maybe dive as deep into some of the areas you'd like to because of the rules, right? But other than that, you know, anytime you have motivation, yeah, I was aware of it. We were aware of it, but I think it's good when you have motivation to prove people wrong. I think over the course of time, that's shown to be a good motivator.
Sean, how did, when you looked at the film last night, how did Ed Oliver look in his first padded NFL workout?
Yeah, you know, I think overall as a team, we didn't do a good enough job of carrying forward our fundamentals that we started to build in spring, and again, started with the first couple of days, and not in just in shells, Sal, with the whole team in terms of fundamentals, technique, and so we got a lot of work to do in that area, and as does Ed. But I did see him show up a little bit in there where I felt his presence around the pocket, which was good, and I liked his energy. So we just have to continue to. He has to continue to grow and have that growth mindset of, hey, what I did in college, I may not be able to do in the NFL, and that's the case with a lot of players. So you have to continue to adjust is where I was going with it.
How much of John Butler's background with Kevin Johnson influenced the decision to bring him in? And then just, you know, through 3 days, I know it's early, but what kind of a start has he gotten off to?
Yeah, very good start. And John was a big factor in that, in knowing Kevin and also helping us recruit Kevin through the process there in the off season. And you know, Kevin's a guy that, you know, I did a lot of work on when he came out, and I was in Carolina. He came out of Wake there, so had a pretty good feel for who he was as a player and some of the strengths and some of the areas that we felt like he would have to adjust in terms of adjusting his game to the NFL. And I think it's a classic case of a good football player, good person, highly competitive, and again, he's off to a good start making plays on the football.
Sean, a guy like that, know about Maurice Alexander much when you signed him. It seems like he's filling a good personal role for you back there. Can you kind of talk about what he allows your defense to do when he's on the field?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I was looking at it yesterday on the field. You know, guys, you acquire guys in different ways, and sometimes you're, you know, really excited about a signing, and you target that person. And Mo was kind of one of those, I would say, at this point, under the radar type signings for probably most people out there. But again, early returns. I like his position flexibility. Seems to have an ability to make plays on the ball, plays in space, and also the all-important side of the special teams game, which he has experience in as well.
Sean, in your venue over the past few days, how has that battle opposite Tre'Davious White gone with Gaines, with Wallace, and Johnson?
Yeah, I like our level of competition with Gaines. You know, with Levi, who I think is playing good, solid football as well, and you know, you mentioned Kevin, and so there's a few other guys that are battling and playing good football right now back there. So that's been fun to watch.
Sean, with Kevin Johnson, with a guy like that with his injury history, is there anything you do to try and address that, whether it be physically, mentally, you know, to at least make some effort to fix it?
Yeah, I would start with communication. You know, just awareness around our building of what each player, not only in Kevin's situation, but in all their cases, you know, bringing in the number of guys we did, and hey, each guy's, you know, situation is a little bit different, and this guy has X, we're concerned about this, and let's get out in front of it. You know, we've got a tremendous medical staff and a sports science department, as well as the part of the new facility back home there that you know, are put together to help us you know, make guys better here than maybe they've been elsewhere, and that's important on the field and off the field.
Do you find the idea of an injury-prone label, is that a thing? Do you believe in that?
You know, I think there's history, and that's the concerning piece in some of these cases with Kevin in this case, and history sometimes foretells, you know, future events, and that's what we have to be aware of. And look, at the end of the day, availability is key, and so we've got to be a healthy football team, and we need these players on the field.
Sean, you say every guy's got different circumstances. Christian Wade was telling us yesterday he's never been hit with full pads on. I mean, the circumstance between him and everybody else in the roster, what's it been like having him around and learning as this process goes?
Yeah, really an interesting story. And just, you know, just watching a professional athlete in this case persevere through adversity. I mean, let's just put up an offensive diagram, and the holes are, 1 through 8, say, across the board, and things that are like first day or even back in maybe junior high school that you don't really need to go through, that's new to him, and before you even put up the play, right? So it's really incredible the way he's persevered through that, and got a great smile and great positive energy and great joy, which is fun to be around.
With all these new receivers that you've added, do you feel or sense that Robert Foster is kind of trying to find his way again?
I would just say that I think it's a classic case of a second-year player that experienced some success in year one, and then the sophomore year there's always an adjustment. It's important that in that second year you continue to grow and evolve and adjust your game. As I mentioned before, and you will hear me say again and again that when tape is out there on you, this is the NFL, it's professional football, and people get paid a lot of money to get out in front of that and study it. And so he has to continue to evolve as a football player. Because
he seemed to do all the right things. I mean, he worked out with Josh back in March, and spent the entire February and January here working out. So that's to his credit, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah, that's what we look for.
Are we likely to see some load management on Frank Gore here coming forward, or are you going to have to wrestle with him about that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, Frank you guys have gotten to know him, highly competitive, true pro. I try and communicate with these guys and tell them, hey, what the plan is ahead of time, so they know, so they have clarity, and they can, become the best version of themselves with that clarity. So, that we try and manage that all the time, whether it's a running back position in this case or any other position. And we've got right now a balance going a little bit at that position where we hope it allows these guys to stay fresh yet continue to get themselves ready to go for the season.
Sean, Ray said yesterday that he went back home during the offseason and kind of living with mom and dad helped him reestablish his focus and that discipline. Have you seen the benefits of that so far?
Yeah, and I would go back to the spring. I thought he got off to a really good start in the spring when he came back in March or April, whenever it was there, and just a different guy, different bodies. He's worked on his body in terms of, looks like he's been working out, had a nice routine, and then some of the maturity emotionally that's occurred. That's been good to see as well.
Former running back, have you seen any of those traits in how he plays receiver?
Yeah, for the most part, when the ball's been around him, he's caught it, which is important for that position. And again, as we talk about these guys in their sophomore year, Robert was mentioned earlier. Robert, a little bit of a different case because he did not have the experience or the success that maybe Robert had in year one. And now, hey, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle the adversity? How are you going to handle the challenge? And so that's been good to see him come back with the right attitude, the right approach. He's obviously put work in before coming back as well.